Take. I'm your host, obviously, Xavier. I'm joined by my co-host,
Trevor Powell.
Gavin Clow.
and today we're gonna have a little spiel about Morgan sports in the fall. All right, I wanna have a little discussion about our top five. There's only 5 seasons, obviously. Do we want to let's rank our fall season moments? I think that'd be pretty good. Wouldn't you guys agree?
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah,
I
what do
think
you
it's a
think,
great
Gavin?
idea.
I think it's a fantastic idea.
All right, so I feel like number five is kind of controversial, but I think girls field hockey against Valley, great game.
I agree.
Yeah, brain cancer awareness game. I think that's a very important moment for fall sports this year. I mean, they did win. They had a new coach coming in, Beth Powers, actually coached at Valley, so it was definitely a interesting experience. Definitely a very impactful one for the team. They had a better record than last year. They didn't do horrible. What do you have to say about that, Trevor?
As you said, with Beth Powers, I think that was huge for her to beat her former team, and that's really all I got from that game.
What do you got, Gavin?
I just think that it was a great reasoning behind the game, like cancer awareness and stuff like that. I think that's a very important topic. So.
I definitely agree with you, Gavin, on that. All right, but
Number 4.
this is very debatable. This is 5 and 4 are very interchangeable, but I think we're gonna have to go with Morgan football's first win at home against Weaver Beavers. It was a homecoming game, very impactful game. Old Saybrook's and Westbrook's senior night, also that too, senior night, and it was their homecoming game. I think this was a very important game for the Morgan football team. Wouldn't you guys agree?
I would agree. Very, very big win for them. Trisaka's first win at Morgan. Other than that, not a lot to say. It was a battle of the 0-5 teams, and Morgan came out on top in a big way, blowing them out. So
it was a pretty beautiful display of points. 33-6. The game ended in a pretty
crazy way with Tyshawn Davis.
Yeah, pretty interesting way. Tyshawn Davis got into a little skirmish, little tussle with little altercation with the opposing players, but other than that, it was Morgan definitely lit up the scoreboard. I think this was one of Morgan's better games of the season, probably their best game of the season.
Shout out to Coach Dennis giving us the goji berries.
Let me ask you something. Do you think that Tyshawn's altercation was justified?
I think it was justified. I was obviously on the field, eyewitness of the situation right next to him. I think that this might be a little opinionated here, but I think that it was a very justified encounter. Anyways.
Number 3. I think we're ready for number 3.
I think we're ready for number 3.
All right, I got it.
You got it?
Number 3 has to go to the volleyball team making the state tournament for the first time in a long.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree with this one.
They weren't the greatest team last year, as we know, and I think they really surprised all of us this year, winning the perfect amount of games to get in, which was 8. Needed 8 wins, they got it. Made it to the first round. Unfortunately, lost in the first round to Canton. But I think this is a big year for Coach Lynch, and I think they'll be able to do it again next year.
Yeah, I think this is a very important moment for this team. This team has gone through their ups and downs, obviously not having the greatest record last year, not making the state playoffs, but they turned it around this year, making the state playoffs. They did lose in the first round, unfortunately, but I think they can have some more success in the upcoming years. They got a couple returning players like Avery Weiss, Carla Duque, and a couple other ladies. Emma Turner too, yep. And now let's talk a little bit about our number 2 spot. Number 2 spot, I don't think this is controversial at all. The Morgan boys soccer team. They had an electrifying season, very electrifying season. They played very well throughout the season. Had a great season. High expectations coming from the off season, and I think they fulfilled them. They made the state playoffs. They made a run in Shorelines. Unfortunately, they came up short in semis for both Shorelines and the state finals.
All right, so I think some standout players this year, especially, were Liam Totten and Johnny Gutierrez. They both got All-State. Liam was the goalie. He's been the goalie for 3 years since his freshman year, and Johnny also has played all 3 years. And that's basically it for me.
And I want to make a special shout out to Hayden Dar, aka the Dar Man. He had a great game. I think he had 5 or 6 saves on goal. And he was coming out of the box a lot, just making the plays. He got the job done. He definitely did his part. It was unfortunate what happened. They lost, but he definitely did a great job in that game. Hayden Dar, not many people expected his performance. He came out, I think everybody was cheering for him.
Definitely gonna have to agree with you, Gavin, on this. I think that everybody was cheering for him. It was his first start this year. He had come up from JV because of an unfortunate situation with the starting All-Stater, Liam Totten. And, he definitely filled his role. I mean, he did the best he could, and unfortunately they did come up short, but I feel like he's going to be a great, great player for the Huskies. All right. For number 1, we got the girls making the Shoreline Finals and winning.
I agree with that.
4 years in a row they've won the Shoreline Championship. That is very impressive. The girls had a lot of all-conference players. They had a lot of great talent. They did what they were supposed to do out there. You could definitely tell that the girls had great chemistry, great energy for the entire season. They really only lost a couple big games here and there, but they had great, impactful wins. 18-4. The only losses coming in the state finals and 3 regular season games. I think that this team could be something special next year. They got a lot of returning players. All-Stater, 2-time All-Stater, Sadie Pasante, All-Conference Cora Deming, All-Conference Ainsley Lyons, many other all-conference players. This team is very electric. They've been playing together since middle school, even younger than that for some of them. This team is definitely going to be a team to look out for the Morgan history.
I agree. They have a very talented junior class coming up to be seniors next year and leading on the team. I definitely see 5P coming in the Shoreline and maybe even the state championship. It was very heartbreaking for us in the dog pound at that game. We all thought they were going to win. But I think they fought hard. They brought all the way to PKs. Unfortunately lost. But I think they'll be able to get back there next year.
What do you think about this, Gavin?
I think that the game was a very close game, obviously. With the score being 1-1, everybody in the student section, I got to give a special shout out to Riley Fabriello. Everybody in the student section, they call her Iron Boot because she has the best kick on the team.
These 5 teams had some interesting records. We're going to go 5 through 1, sitting their records. All right, at number 5, we got the Morgan field hockey team, girls, obviously. They had a record of 13-11-1. This team, they didn't have the greatest season in the world, but that's all right. You can't obviously win them all. I think this team had a lot of great team chemistry. They liked each other on the team. Many of the team hung out together. I think that this was a very electric group. At number 4, we had the Morgan boys football team, 2-8. I mean, they didn't have the greatest chemistry in the world, but they made it work with what they had, and I think this team could be very special, obviously, next year. Number 3, the 8-14 volleyball girls team. I think that this team was pretty special. I mean, they really wanted it this year, came out hot. And I think they can really do something. I mean, they got Emma T coming back. She's been a huge player for them since her freshman year, 2 years ago. And I think that this is going to be a very big team to look out for. I mean, they're going to be a sleeper team next year. They are losing a couple seniors like Paige. They are losing a couple people, but I think that who's coming up can really amplify this team and make them a playoff contender again next year. Obviously, at 2, we got the boys soccer team, 13-4-1. Pretty great season. High expectations. They fulfilled those expectations. Obviously, they fell short. But I think they can really make it back next year. I mean, they got a lot of returning players. All their All-Staters besides Emmy are returning. They got Johnny Gutierrez, absolute dog, winning all in New England. They got... So they got Liam Totten back net. He's lethal back there, all-state player. They got Esteban returning. They got Colton Landino coming up to the helm. They got a lot of young guys who can really fill that role. And I'm excited to watch this team in 2025. That one, no doubt, obviously the girls' soccer team. I mean, they had an electric season. 18-4, only losses coming. 3 in the regular season and 1 in, obviously, state finals. And I think that this team is also an electric team. This team probably has the most chemistry in Oregon right now. They're so electric together. They always hang out, This team has so much chemistry. They've all been playing together since middle school or even younger. This team has a lot of bright future. They have a lot of young talent. Juniors, freshmen playing at the helm, some sophomores coming up the varsity that could really spark something good. I see this team going a lot of places, especially with their leader All-State, Sadie Pasante, next year as a senior. I think that she's going to bring something crazy next season. All right, but that's going to conclude our episode 1 of Morgan's First Take. Thank everyone for listening, and goodbye.